Good morning. I want to talk today about the upcoming lunar month from August 22nd through September 21st. I'll be drinking some coffee while I'm doing this, so you may notice some small pauses or hear some slurping sounds. Oh, that's good. Okay. Sorry about that. Need to clear my throat a little bit, but let's get started. So I'll share my screen. And this will take just a second to get things out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. We're almost there. Okay, now we're good to go. The lunar month for the world, America, and Trump from August 22nd through September 21st. And we'll start with the world. And the interesting thing, well, there's a few interesting things here. One is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we've been experiencing all summer long. We did not have an exact conjunction this summer, but the two planets have been within 1 degree of orb of a conjunction with one another throughout the summer, but now it's fading. It's going away as this lunar month begins to start. And Saturn itself, both of these planets are moving retrograde, but Saturn, I believe it's on September 4th, it's going to retrograde back into Pisces. So, Saturn conjunct Neptune, it dissolves these old structures, new structures come into their place. We've seen that been happening all year long in America with Trump in the White House, and we'll probably see some more of that. And of course, these two planets will be exactly conjunct on February 20th of 2026, so we'll talk more about that in the future. But for now, it's going away. But what is very, very prominent is this double sextile trine between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. That will be very strong within 1 degree orb for the entire lunar month. We'll have, let's see, we have here Uranus making a sextile to Neptune. Up here we have Neptune making a sextile to Pluto. And down here we have Pluto making a trine to Uranus. And in the last few days of August, through about the first week, a little bit over, in September, we have Jupiter making a trine to the north node, which means it'll be making a sextile to the south node. So that is going to be pretty good for growth. Let's see, that's from the last 3 days of August through, it looks like the first 8 days of September. So about 11 days there. That's going to be a period in which people are going to be feeling a little bit better because Jupiter is in Cancer, affecting the home, the personal environment. People will feel a little bit more secure, and things might be a little bit more prosperous. Of course, this Uranus, Neptune, Pluto double sextile trine, that is also going to take a lot of the pressure off of people. And it's going to open them up to higher perspectives. Those who engage in regular meditation or some sort of spiritual endeavor, this is a time when you can make great gains in that endeavor. Because these higher, more transcendent energies, they're going to flow and coordinate with one another much more easily. And this also favors invention, Uranus and Gemini, uh, technological breakthroughs, Pluto and Aquarius, and it gets funneled through Neptune in areas where these dreams are turned into reality. Around the 16th of September, let's say 15, 16, 17, we have Mars in opposition, strongly within opposition to Chiron, within a 1 degree orb using a wider orb. This opposition lasts a little longer, and this could be some sort of aggression or violence, which leads to wounding. So that will happen around mid-September. But overall, the dominant theme of this month is that very strong Uranus, Neptune, Pluto double sextile trine, what some call a minor grand trine, what Rick Levine calls a mini grand trine. Okay, let's look at a few charts here. Here is the new moon on August 22nd. You can see that Uranus, Neptune with Saturn and with Pluto, double sextile trine, bringing in all this harmonious energy. We also have Jupiter making a trine to the north node and a sextile to the south node. The nodal axis always adds some intensification. In this case, it's going to be a beneficial boost to Jupiter's efforts to grow and establish security in the home. And let's see, we have Sun, Moon, square, Uranus. So this suggests that it's going to be, in some ways, a very chaotic lunar month, and other ways, a very creative lunar month. Uranus always breaks up the existing pattern. This is favorable for inventions because Uranus is in Gemini, so there may be some really interesting inventions and creative writing that happen at this time. But for others, it's going to be some of the old rules, since Sun and Moon are in Virgo. The old rules in many ways are going to be cracked and broken. And it may be healthcare, for instance, that is affected, at least in America, quite a bit because, again, Sun and Moon are in Virgo, which has a connection with healthcare. Also, workers around the world, they will likely be impacted as we see more and more effects from Trump's tariffs. So those are two areas in particular that can be impacted by the square from Uranus. And Jupiter in Cancer is going to be at the midpoint of all of this. Uranus is making a semi-square to Jupiter, Sun and Moon are making a semi-square to Jupiter. So it's going to be families that feel the brunt of the impact here, and maybe some insecurity. There are other things I've mentioned which are going to be in effect, which could make people feel more secure this month, but chaos in the marketplace that could also at the same time bring some misgivings and some insecurity. Also, Sun and Moon are making a strong quincunx to Saturn Neptune, and that suggests that people are going to have to make adjustments to new policies, new structures, and ideologies that are coming along. Of course, we can see that happening in America as the tariffs go into effect, as the uh, personal economic toll increases. People are going to have to adjust their spending and other things, and we already see that happening. We do have Venus making a, uh, at this point, a little weak opposition to Pluto. That will become stronger in the next few days. And as that becomes stronger, that suggests personal insecurity and rebellion against the powers that be. We may see more people protesting in the streets over various conditions, more strikes. Okay, let's move on to the first quarter moon. And let's see, let me go back just a second because Venus, it's at 27 degrees Cancer, Pluto at 1 degrees Aquarius. They're kind of far apart. The um, opposition is exact when Venus is at 1 degree of Leo. But 7 days later, at the first quarter moon, Venus is already fairly comfortably past that 1 degree Leo mark. So Venus is moving pretty quickly. So this Venus and Pluto opposition, it's not going to be strong for very long. But what is strong still is that Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto double sextile trine. And we have a lot more favorable aspects that Jupiter sextile the north node, or sorry, trine the north node, sextile the south node. That is getting stronger. We also have Mercury making a strong trine to Chiron. And let's see. What I skipped over in this first slide at the new moon was we had Venus making a strong square to Chiron. I have it written here, but I skipped over it, talking about other stuff. And Venus is our nonverbal brain, uh, our right brain. And with Venus in Cancer, it's concerned about feeling safe and secure in one's home. And Chiron can cause wounding. And as Trump sends more National Guard troops into cities to round people up, as ICE goes and rounds people up, I know in America there are a lot of families that are uh, feeling wounded, and that will become stronger at the time of the new moon. Okay, now back to the first quarter moon. Venus has moved on, and Mercury is moved into a trine to Chiron. So Mercury is the left brain, the verbal brain, and there's going to be some sort of healing, most likely that's taking place here. For meditators and spiritual people, the double sextile trine, and this trine from Chiron to Mercury, this is going to make it a wonderful time for very deep meditations that involve all sorts of revelations. And we also have Venus, the right brain, making a trine to the moon. So that is going to help people feel better. Jupiter, or let's say Mars, is making a square to Jupiter. It's 2 degrees from being exact. It's applying. And this will probably still be in effect when we get to the full moon. We'll see on the next slide. But again, this could be some sort of aggression that makes people feel a little less secure since Jupiter is in Cancer. There are other ways this could play out. This could also energize people's desire to expand themselves, but that could result in overreach or an overspending of some sort. But all in all, at the first quarter moon, things are looking much more harmonious, and that's a good thing. Okay, and here's the full moon, which is going to be a lunar eclipse. And I'll take a sip of coffee here. We see a lot of the same things in effect. The Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto double sextile trine, still going strong, as it will throughout the month. Jupiter making that sextile and trine to the lunar nodal axis. That is an effects for a while. So this is another thing making people overall feel better. But we have Venus making a sesquiquadrant now to Saturn, Neptune, uh, conjunct over here. Saturn, as you can see, has retrograded back into Pisces. Neptune is still in Aries, so Saturn has decided it's going to put a pause on making visions concrete. It's gone back into Pisces, where for a few months it will think about the situation and try and come up with new visions to make concrete. Uh, Neptune is still trying to make those visions real, but Saturn's not helping quite so much now. With this sesquiquadrant with Venus, sesquiquadrats can be turning points, the straw that breaks the camel's back. So people, many are very dissatisfied with the policies, at least in America right now, and maybe around the world. And so this could be a turning point when people engage in more protest and other kinds of social actions to creatively express their beliefs. And here we see Mars square Jupiter. It's a little stronger. It's just after exact at this point. So again, this could represent either aggression against families or it could energize families in some way, but there is a danger of overreach, overspending, overdoing things in many ways. Okay, when we get to the third quarter moon, there are several things that look a little bit more harmonious. I don't usually talk about the sun and the moon that much because particularly the moon, moves pretty quickly, but you can see at the time of the third quarter moon, it's involved in a double sextile trine too. So we have two double sextile trines going on, and we still have Jupiter trine and sextile the lunar nodal axis, but it's also making a sextile to the Sun and Mercury. So those are things which are going to be making people feel pretty good. Of course, the moon, it makes an exact square to the sun because that's what happens at third quarter moon. It's squaring Mercury and the lunar nodal axis too, but moon moves on pretty quickly. It's got create some tensions that day. More worrisome is Mars opposite Chiron, which is gaining in strength. And this will likely bring about some violence and some wounding in the world. So those places where we have wars and aggressions already taking place, well, the wounding could become more severe. There could be more random acts of violence, more accidents, for instance, resulting in wounding. Fortunately, Venus is making a trine to Chiron and a sextile to Mars, and that is going to help release some of the tension, so things may not be quite as dire as they look. We often have indications which contradict one another in astrology, but that's the way things happen in life. Things can be very bad in one area and good in another area at the same time. And the good things that are happened can help make the bad things at least more bearable. And with Sun Mercury actually conjunct this lunar nodal axis, that could intensify people's feelings on this day. Again, put more concern on things having to do with health and probably employment, workers' rights, things like that. since all of this is taking place over here in Virgo. And then we get to the next new moon, which will be a solar eclipse. So we have two eclipses this month, and eclipses always intensify things. And at this solar eclipse, we still have Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto double sextile trine going on strong. We have Sun, Moon, and the South Node completing a grand trine with Pluto and Uranus, which means we have this kite formation in here, the minor grand trine combining with the major grand trine. And this is going to be both activating and harmonious. So people may be protesting policies that are affecting them, the Saturn Neptune, but they're getting a lot of support in doing so. At the very least, individuals will highlight the impact that policies are having on workers and on healthcare. We still have Mars in opposition to Chiron. It's separating now, 3 degrees orb. On the previous slide at the third quarter moon, it was applying within 2 degrees. So we've got a week here of Mars in opposition to Chiron, some sort of wounding taking place as a result of some sort of actions or aggression. And we also have Venus making a square to Uranus, so that is breaking up some patterns. This can create some chaos. Again, Venus, it's our values, it's things we like, it's our nonverbal right brain. So the right brain is going to be cracking up a little bit. And with Venus and Virgo, the emphasis could be on healthcare, employment, workers' rights, things like that. But overall, we got a lot of harmony in this new moon chart. Okay, now if we look at America, and let me get another sip of coffee here real quickly. Throughout all of August, we had the square between Chiron and Pluto. Natal Pluto in America's chart. I usually look at the July 2nd, 1776 chart for the passage of the Declaration of Independence by the Continental Congress. The July 4th chart is when it was released. Both are valid. This aspect is going to be present in both charts. So throughout August, we had transiting Chiron squaring natal Pluto that weakens America's power, but can also weaken the person in power in America. That is typically the president. And we've seen more pushback and protests against the things Trump has said and done throughout August. So his power has been weakened to some extent, and more Republicans in Congress have been speaking out against some of his policies. Now, what's going to predominate for America this month is Saturn square natal Venus, and then transiting Neptune square natal Venus. They're going to overlap a bit. It starts with Saturn and 1 degree orb, ends with Neptune and 1 degree orb. This is going to produce dissatisfaction and insecurity in people's minds. Of course, with Trump in charge, his tariff policies will likely create more and more economic discontent. His aggressive policies against people living in this country, that is creating more and more discontent, and we can expect that to continue. I am expecting inflation to rise in America, but I think a lot of the wounding from Trump's trade policies, unless he changes direction, a lot of that wounding will be felt in October. But that's another month. So let's see, in kind of the end of the first week of September, middle of September, we have first Saturn in opposition to Chiron. And that is interesting because that is what's happening in the world in general. So, transiting Mars opposition, transiting Chiron, that is happening around mid-September. And as we move into the 21st, and it's going to be happening in America in particular. It's strongest on September 7th, but we'll probably see some additional violence in America or aggression of some sort, either coming from the administration or people pushing back against the administration or mass shootings, other random acts of violence, or things wounding through accidents and things breaking down. And we also have transing Jupiter squaring natal Chiron. That is going to last a lot longer, but we have Chiron involved in both of these aspects. So with Jupiter, it could be some sort of overreach or overly expansive action resulting in wounding. And then on the 18th, we have transiting Mars square natal Pluto. We've had Chiron square Pluto. That is going to fade once we get into September, but this could be some sort of aggression against America's power or against Trump in particular. That goes on. Okay, so looking at transits of the new moon to America's chart, this July 2nd, 1776 chart, we've got that transiting Chiron still squaring natal Pluto, wounding Trump and America's power. We have transiting Venus in opposition to natal Pluto. That's going to act as a trigger for this wounding of America's power or its president. We have transiting Saturn and Neptune square natal Venus. This is causing a lot of dissatisfactions among Americans and American families. They're feeling restricted, and their beliefs, their values, they're going to become very passionate about them as a result of this square from Neptune. We have seen that already in political town halls around the country, where people are so upset, they chant their dissatisfaction, and the representatives in government often can't even speak because the protest is so loud. We also have transiting Mars. Let's see, making a square to natal Sun. That can result in some sort of aggression or violence. But at the same time, transiting Sun and Moon are making a sextile to natal Venus, so there are going to be other ways in which people are feeling a little bit happier, a little bit more satisfied with their situation. As I've said, in astrology and in life, you can get contradictory circumstances happening at the same time. One set of things can make you dissatisfied, but you can find some pleasure and satisfaction in other places at the same time. But overall, we've got tensions in America. When we get to the lunar eclipse on September 7th, transiting Saturn Neptune are still squaring natal Venus. transiting Mars is still opposite uh, natal Chiron. And let's see, it looks like this is going to be an opposition that is going to be lasting for a little bit. And we have transiting Mars, trinatal Mars. This is interesting. We've had other things with Mars, uh, like we had transiting Mars earlier, square the Sun, and it goes into opposition to Chiron. That can result in negative aspects of energy and aggression, but transiting Mars, trinatal Mars, that shows a more harmonious flow of energies. And so there may be some good beneficial actions that occur as a result of this lunar eclipse. And at the end of the lunar month, we have the solar eclipse. And now transiting Chiron is square natal moon. They'll soon be within that 1 degree orb of squaring natal Mercury. And this is why I think once we get into the latter part of September and into October, in America, we may be feeling more and more economic wounding as a result of Trump's tariff policies. And we have transiting Neptune is still within 1 degree orb of squaring natal Venus, causing dissatisfaction and some fanaticism in America, people feeling very passionate about what is going on. And we have transiting Mercury, square natal Jupiter, so people are going to get very vocal about what they're thinking. But we have a couple of beneficial aspects also. Transiting Mars is making a trine now to, let's see, natal Venus. So it's going to be easier for people to take actions based upon their beliefs. And transiting Mercury is making a trine and sextile to the lunar nodal axis. So people are going to verbalize their opinions quite easily, quite well. So, various things going on as we move into wounding. We also have people becoming more dissatisfied, more passionate, more fanatical, uh, not shy about vocalizing what they think. But there's going to be some easy paths to those kinds of actions and protests. Uh, I do believe. Okay. And now if we look at Trump, of course, Trump's chart is such that when he's got a square in one place, he usually gets related sextile or trine elsewhere, and that always throws him a lifeline. And for quite a while, Trump's lifeline has been transiting Chiron, trine natal Mars. His natal Mars is conjunct his ascendant, so this affects him personally, brings him a lot of healing. And he is getting a lot of healing in this lunar month. This trine will be exact on August 29th. But he also has the lunar nodal axis making a square to his natal Uranus all month long. Uranus is in his 10th house of status and society. And basically, this is going to make him even more chaotic than usual. He will be very spontaneous, make the spur of the moment decisions, reverse decisions, even more chaotic than he usually is. toward the end of August, Jupiter will square natal Jupiter. That can result in overreach in a lot of areas. And we're about to move into that. Now it's a few days before this lunar month starts. I'm recording this, but we'll be moving into this soon. And August 30th is a day that I'm keeping an eye on because transiting Mars will be conjunct his natal Chiron, and that could result in some sort of wounding. Or accidents. It could be a physical accident, a physical wounding. It could be just people verbally attacking him. And once we get into September, for all of September and the rest of the lunar month, transiting Chiron will be squaring his Venus. This could wound his status in society since Venus rules his 10th house. It could wound his collaborations with others since Venus is in the 11th house. But these are the contradictory indications I've been talking about. Chiron trine Mars on the one hand, bringing healing to him, but squaring Venus at the same time. So both things will be going on, and Chiron trine natal Mars, that will be throwing him a lifeline. In the middle of September, though, we have a couple of Martian things going on. Mars square Saturn, immediately followed by Mars square Venus. This could be a time of frustration for him, a time of attacks on his presidency, his policies, or even his person. But things will heat up a little bit more for him around the middle of September. Okay, now, if we look at how the new moon will affect him, well, again, here you see the lunar nodal axis pretty strongly squaring Uranus in the 10th house. This lasts throughout the month. He's going to be pretty chaotic and unpredictable. But transiting Chiron trine his natal Mars, which is in effect the entire month. You can see both of those things here. That throws him a lifeline and will bring him some healing. So there's a good chance that whatever problems arise, that he will weather them. And here's an interesting quad wheel for August 30th, 2025. I want to point out a few things about this one. I've got this July 1776 chart for America as the innermost wheel. If you use a July 4th chart, you're going to see the same stuff I'm going to talk about here. But in America's chart, we have this opposition between Saturn in Libra and Chiron in Aries. And at its best, America is this country that recognizes the spiritual dignity and worth of every individual. That's the higher aspect of Chiron in Aries, and it incorporates that dignity of people into its relationships with others. That's Saturn in Libra. And America has often reached that high point, that best, throughout its history. But it's also represented the worst of this opposition, which is the wounding of individuals and others. And America has a long history of wounding and trying to control others, both within its borders and without its borders. Now, the next chart out is Trump's natal chart. And notice that in this chart we have Chiron at 14 degrees Libra. It's going to be exactly conjunct to the degree America's natal Saturn at 14 degrees Libra. And A way in which this is played out is, from my point of view, Trump has done more to wound the structures of America's government and America's democracy more than any other president in my lifetime. Now, if you're a supporter of Trump, you'll see this differently. You'll see it as simply draining the swamp. So those are two opposing interpretations of the same events. Either way, he is wounding the traditional structures of America. Okay, now the next chart out is going to be Trump's progress chart. And the main thing I want you to notice here is that all year long his progress Mars has been at 14 degrees Libra, exactly conjunct to the degree his natal Chiron and America's natal Saturn. So what Trump wanted to do in his first term, we're now seeing him accomplish on steroids. This wounding to the structure of America's government and democracy, or draining the swamp, it's happening on steroids. Okay, now the reason I am so interested in August the 30th is because on this day, if we look at the transits in the outer wheel, shows the transits on that day. And on that day, we're going to have transiting Mars at 14 degrees Libra. So it's going to be conjunct exact to the degree. Trump's progress Mars, his natal Chiron, and the USA's natal Saturn. So you could be more energized to dismantle or wound things in America. He could have some sort of accident that day, some sort of act of aggression directed against him on that day. There are all sorts of possibilities. Okay, and here in his natal chart, I have Jupiter, also a red circle around it. It's conjunct his natal Chiron, and that's going to be in opposition to the USA Chiron. So Jupiter will just magnify all of the wounding or draining of the swamp that Chiron is causing. Now, if we look at some other transits, you can see transiting Chiron, making that square to Trump's natal Venus. That's going to be very strong on August 30th. So that with this Mars transit, there could be wounding to him or wounding to his reputation. Venus rules his 10th house, his status. But we also have transiting Chiron making this strong square to his natal Mars that is conjunct his ascendant. So that is providing a lifeline, some much needed healing. And so whatever happens, he may endure. And then we get to the lunar eclipse on September 7th. That is going to be the full moon that is occurring. And the lunar nodes are going to be squaring his natal Uranus, and actually Sun and Moon are squaring that too. So again, there's going to be this very strong tendency in this upcoming lunar month for Trump to be even more chaotic, more crazy, more spontaneous, more flip-flops on ideas. And transiting Chiron, as I have mentioned, is squaring his natal Venus, but it's trining his natal Mars at the same time. So, at the same time that his status is being wounded, he has a lifeline, something that provides healing. So he will probably get through things okay, like he has in the past. Now, September 30th, around that time, that is when things get a little bit more tense for Trump. He still has the transing lunar nodal axis square his natal Uranus, still has transing Chiron square uh, natal Venus, and Saturn might get pulled into that. He has transing Sun Mercury square natal Sun Mercury and the lunar nodal axis. So this is going to be a more intense time for Trump for one reason or another. And he has transiting Mars, making a square to his natal Sun, Moon, and the lunar nodal axis. So let's see. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing here. My eye started down here and then drifted up here. So transing Mars is not square Sun, Moon, lunar nodal axis. It's square his Venus and Saturn. I talked about ramifications of that already. This uh, Venus rules his 10th house, has to do with his status. Saturn rules his 6th house of health and employment. There could be some accident. Uh, who knows? He could have a heart attack or some sort of stomach trouble since Saturn and Venus are in Cancer, or he could just be feeling very angry this day, experience some aggression toward him, uh, physical, verbal, attacking his status. It's hard to say what it will be, but we look for something of a Martian nature to be affecting him in mid-March. But transing Chiron, trinatal Mars, that brings a lot of healing to him, which can get him successfully through a lot of different situations. And now we get to the solar eclipse on September 21st. Still have transing lunar nodal axis squaring natal Uranus. He's very chaotic, transing Chiron square natal Venus, wounding to his reputation, his status. But transiting Chiron not only trines his natal Mars, he'll also have transiting Mars, sextile his natal ascendant, and it's only 3 degrees away from an exact sextile to his natal Mars. So that is, again, going to help strengthen him and assist with the healing process from the trine from Chiron to natal Mars. So that's a pretty good lifeline. Transiting Jupiter while making a quincunx to his natal moon. So this suggests he's going to have to make some sort of adjustments to uh, how he feels about things. Jupiter is going through his 11th house, which has to do with his collaborations with others. So based upon his talks with Putin, Zelensky, and European leaders, he may have to make some sort of internal emotional adjustment in order to align better with what others want. Okay, and that is going to be the end of this slideshow. So I'll stop sharing here, and I'm back. And that's going to be the highlights of this upcoming lunar month. For the world in general, a lot of higher transcendent energy uh, coming in from that Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, double sextile trine. That's going to be very beneficial for people who meditate and want to make some rapid spiritual growth, new inventions, new technology being developed and coming along for America. Though we have more tensions, more distraction as we set the stage for what could be a lot of personal and economic wounding in October. And for Trump, he has both wounding and healing going on at the same time, both coming from Chiron. September 30th is a time, I'm sorry, August 30th is a time to watch out for Trump to see what happens. And middle of September is another time to keep an eye on for what happens. Things could be a little bit more tense for Trump at that time. But that's going to be it for this lunar month. I hope you enjoyed this, found it informative, and I hope you join me for future videos. But for now, I'll just say so long and be well.